We will pay homage to the Buddha by reciting Namo Tassa 3 times. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. So today we have to continue the enlightenment factor of energy. So as we have explained previous Dhamma Talk, we have to develop the enlightenment factors. So last week we have already explained 2 enlightenment factors. Today we will continue the enlightenment factor of energy, Viriya Sambhojjhanga. The 11 things leads to the arising of enlightenment factor of energy. 1. Apaya Bhaya Bhajavakanata. Reflection on the fearfulness of states of war, which means if we were born in the fourfold states, we cannot meditate. So actually we have been born there many times. That's why we cannot practice the 3 trainings when we are born as animals, or as ever-hungry ghosts, or as a born and flesh asura, and also born as a hare beings. So we can practically see many different animals around us. Although they live in the monastery, they are very close to the people, but they cannot understand the Dhamma. They don't have any knowledge of Dhamma. They cannot meditate. Then, actually, when we can reflect the fearfulness of states of war or fourfold states, this is also can be the ground for energy, which means by reflecting all these things, we can feel a sense of urgency. So if we feel a sense of urgency, we can be energetic, we can continue our practice. That's why it's also necessary from time to time, we have to recollect or reflect the suffering in the fourfold states. Not only that, we can also reflect on rewards in this very life or in the samsara. We also can recollect sickness in this very life or in the samsara, aging, death. Not only that, we can also reflect suffering of finding food. In modern community, like earning money, right? We have to earn money to survive. So for survival, we have to struggle a lot. Then we have to reflect or recollect all these things as suffering. Similarly, we also have suffering of the past, suffering in the future, in the samsara. By reflecting all these things, we can be energetic. We may have sense of urgency. We can be energetic. Then 2. Anisamsa dasavita, seeing of the benefits of energy. So this is also really important for us. So as ordinary people, we have to be reborn in the samsara. If we try very hard, then we can attain Buddhahood. So again, we also have to know that lazy person cannot attain anything. Even to earn money is almost impossible for lazy persons. That is why, so we have to know and see the benefits of energy. For example, when earning, we have to make efforts. We can earn well. If we are lazy, we cannot earn well. When we wish to be educated, we have to try very hard. If we are lazy, we cannot be educated. So whatever ambitions or whatever goal we have, we must make efforts to get it. Sometimes we have ability, but we don't have effort. If we have ability and without effort, it's like a crippled man. We cannot move smoothly. That is why we must be diligent. We must make proper efforts when knowing the benefits. Then again, if we have efforts, if we are energetic, then whatever thing we wish to get, we can achieve. Okay, the next one. Kamana Viti Vajrakanada. Yeah, Kamana Viti means reflection on the path to be trodden. So here in this case, we have to know that, for example, the Buddha, Pachika Buddha, and the Buddha disciples had gone along this path. That means the Eightfold Path. Is going along with this path and will go along this path, not being lazy. So here in this case, we have to know that the Noble Eightfold Paths, or the three trainings, is the path we are going to Trojan. So we can also understand another way. If we wish to achieve very high quality, we must have very strong efforts. At least we must have our ambitions, our aim, how we wish to be in the future or near future. Sometimes we think about very far future. For example, we wish to attain Jhana, we wish to attain Nibbana, is very far. So when we are newly meditator, we have to start with near future, nearest aim, nearest ambition. For example, when we start focus on the breath, at least we must try to have nimitta. This is the nearest. Don't go very far. Don't think about very far things like a nibbana or any other things. It's really very far for us. So as a beginner, our aim or our ambitions or our goal must be very simple things, like to be able to focus on the breath for 1 hour, 2 hours, like that. After that, we can also make ambition to be able to maintain nimitta longer time and so forth. In brief, we can understand that by reflecting on the path to be trodden, then we can also be energetic. We have to go very far. We have to save our energy. We have to keep going, moving forward continuously. This is also one of the things we have to know. Okay, now 4. Pinda Pada Vajayanata. The honoring of alms. So here we have to know that honoring of alms. For example, the donors are not our relatives. Also, they are not our workers, our slaves. They are just donors. So here we have the story of Venerable Ayamita. Mostly we can find this one in this part. Venerable Ayamita was a Visuddhimagga practitioner, also a forest resident. He was a good meditator, but he had to attain any higher attainment. So he went for alms rounds in a small village. In the small village, there are a family. So in that family, only 2 persons, mother and then daughter. One day, Venerable Ayamita was coming for Bindabata. Then the lady, the mother asks her daughter, okay, now when your brother come, offer this kind of foods, especially like, for example, jaggery, molasses, honey, butter, very, very valuable things. Offer all these valuable things to your brother, which means here brother referred to Venerable Ayamita. Then if there's a leftover, leftover foods, you can also take it. Then the daughter asks the mother, what do you eat, mother? The mother replies, I have already eaten leftover foods last night. So that means one night already store foods. Then when hearing that, Venerable Ayamita thought, oh, this is really, very, very great food for me. Without attaining headship, I should not accept their foods. He went back and he meditated and he could attain headship. Then he came for alms rounds again. This means if we are practicing very well, we are honoring our alms, our donors. That is why here in this case, Pinda Bada Pachayana Da, which means we have to practice the 3 trainings to honor our donors. This is also important for the meditators. Not only for bhikkhus, it's also important for the meditators, because we meditators have foods offered by devotees and donors. Again, we also have Dhyajamhata 5. So number 5 is Dhyajamhata reflecting on the greatness of heritage. So this one is also important for us. We have different types of heritage. They mentioned we have 7 kinds of wealth, noble wealth, mentioned in Buddha's teaching. We have faith, saddha, also morality, sila, moral shame, hiri, moral fear, ottappa, knowledge, here it means Dhamma knowledge, sutta, charity, jaga, and wisdom, panya. These are the noble wealth explained in Buddha's teaching. As we have known that a bad child cannot accept the heritage, right? The bad child cannot accept the heritage of his parents. So similarly, when we talk about saddha faith, it depends on our faith. When we have very strong faith, then we may have stronger practice. As we have stronger confidence, we can practice better. So if we have inferior faith, our morality, our concentration, our wisdom will become inferior. So, which means when we are practicing the 3 trainings, we should have stronger faith or superior faith. So, as we have known that, how should we prove that we have faith? Here, the proof of faith is following the teaching of the Buddha and the practicing the 3 trainings respectfully, without any excuses. Sometimes, excuse means, do we have to practice all the methods mentioned in Buddha's teaching? Sometimes they also have some excuses. Do we need to follow many rules in order that we can live in our own life? Or do we have to discern all types of mentalities and materialities? There are many, many questions, many, many excuses. Mostly people like easier way, shortcuts. In reality, when we are going to practice, we don't have shortcuts. We must practice all the things as mentioned in Buddha's teaching. So briefly, we can understand that Rajamhata means the heritage. So we wish to be arhat and arhat. So this is a very great one. We wish to attain anagami. This is also great. Similarly, Sotapanna, Sakadagami. Also very great things, great heritage. If we don't respect the three trainings, or if we don't practice the three trainings respectfully, we cannot achieve all these things. We must know how great the heritage we are going to owe. Then 6. Satu Mahata Bachavakana. So the reflections on the greatness of the master. Here the master, I mean the Buddha. So the Buddha is the very great person. So really, really very well known. The Buddha was really very well known when he was born. Since he was born, is really very famous. Then he lived in the luxurious life, but he gave up everything. He renounced the world. When renouncing, he was also famous. Then when he get enlightened, becoming the Buddha. Also really very, very well-known, famous. Then when delivering the first discourse, everybody know what's the first discourse. It is Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. The first time he delivered his talks to 5 bhikkhus. Then this is also very well known. After that, when he was going to spend 7 vasa, he go up to Devarams. He deliver Dhamma Talk there. It's also very, very well known, very famous case. Then when coming down to human realms from Devarams, this is also really very well-known case, very famous case. Then when releasing life sustainment after the last vasa, spending the last vasa in Wilua village, he came back to Vesali. There the Buddha released his life sustainment, attainment. Is also really famous. Then when entering Nibbana, which means his death moment, right? This is also very well known. So that means Buddha has made very great efforts to achieve such great things. That is why we have to reflect on the greatness of our master. Sometimes we talk about our teacher too much. I have learned from this kind of teacher. I have learned from this kind of teacher. But in reality, whoever our teacher is not really very important. We must upgrade ourselves. If we can upgrade ourselves, this is really very meaningful for our life. Okay, now again, 7. Jati Mahata Pachavakana. Reflection on the greatness of race. So here, race or the lineage, mostly we understand as the Buddha's lineage, right? We have Buddha's lineage. So again, here in this case, although we talk about race or lineage, in reality, it comes from the practice. Without the practice, we cannot be superior. All the good quality come from the practice and then training. So when we have inferior efforts, we have inferior lineage. When we have superior efforts, we may have superior lineage. It comes from the virya we have. Then again, we have to continue number 8. Sabrahma Jariya, sorry, Sarmachari Mahata Pachavakana, Kanata. So Sabrahmachari Mahata Pachavakkanata, in this case, reflections on the greatness of fellow Dhamma friends in the holy life, such a Venerable Sariputta. He's a really great person. So among the fellow Dhamma friends, Venerable Sariputta is also one of them. If we wish to be a great person like that, we have to make efforts. Then 9. Kusita Bogala Parivachanata. The avoiding of lazy folk. So here in this case, we have to elaborate a little bit more. So spending our time by talking about useless things, spending our time going here and there without practicing. Similarly, we may complain about many things, doing many other things except in meditation. So there are also some reasons of laziness. The excuses, we have many excuses for laziness. For example, journey. When we have to go very long journey, we have to prepare for it. Then we don't meditate. We just spend our time by doing many things. This is also one of the issues without meditation. Sickness. When we have sickness, we also have a lot of excuses. So if we have a lot of excuses, sure, we cannot meditate well. After recover from sickness. Also, we have some excuses. Oh, my body is so weak. I cannot meditate. Similarly, we may have many activities, many responsibilities or duties. Then also the same, after making or after doing very heavy duties, then we must have rest time, break time. Similarly, famine, not having enough food. So these are also the ground for laziness. The excuses also can be the ground for energy. It depends on our perceptions or perspective. For example, journey. When we are in journey, we cannot meditate. So now before going to journey, I have to meditate. Something like that. When we have sickness, oh, I have more sense of urgency, I should meditate more. It depends on our perception or how we accept it. So briefly, if there's somebody that's lazy, giving many excuses without meditating, then sure we should avoid that kind of people. Then again, 10. This one, right? Arata Viriya Bukala Sevanata. So the association with folk who have begun to exert efforts. So that means whenever we are going to practice, we have to associate with diligent people. Although they may have many difficulties, they are diligent to meditate. When we have this kind of people, it will be easier for us to improve. Okay, briefly, we can understand that Viriya is not that simple because we have to make very strong efforts to overcome unwholesome minds. We have to try very hard to acquire wholesome minds, to get wholesome minds. So to overcome or to give up unwholesome things is not that easy. To get or to have more merit, more wholesome mind, also not that easy. We must be diligent. We must be energetic to have all the things. Okay, again, we have to continue the next one. Right? So although we have different conditions, journey, sick, busy, or famine, we should meditate any situations. This is also important. And the last one is Dadati Dada. The inclination towards the development of the enlightenment factor of energy. That means our mind must incline to be energetic. So we must have energetic mind all the time. We must have more interest in it. So in reality, here we have many different discourses or many different books. By listening to some discourses, we can be energetic. By reading some books, we can also be energetic. By reviewing some discourses, also we can be energetic. This means Dadati Modada. Our mind must incline toward the enlightenment factor of energy for developing. Okay, now again, we have the next group. 11 things lead to the arising of enlightenment factor of joy. We call Patisambhidamagga. So there are 11 things, but when we talk about it, it will be many, many things to say. That is why we have to understand very simple things here. So the 11 things, actually, some of them will be later, because we have to explain later. For example, Buddha-nocity, the recollection of the Buddha. Later, in the 10 recollection, we have to explain that one. 2, Dhamma-nocity, the recollection of the Dhamma. Sangha-nocity, recollection of the Sangha. Sila-nocity, recollection of morality. Jaga-nocity, recollection of charity. Devada-nocity, the recollections of divine beings. We can also say divine quality. The Upasama-nocity, the recollection of peace. So all these things can be, should be later, because all these things, 7 recollections will be mentioned in the 10 recollections again. That's why I will explain later. So now here again, for about the practice of for the development of joy, it also mentioned Lukha Pugala Parivachanata. This is also important. The avoiding of bad people. So this is also really, really very important for us. Right? But Lukha Pugala means mostly they may have negative thoughts. This is called Lukha Pugala. A lot of negativity. Not only that, they may disrespect anybody for their virtues. So that means they don't know how to respect others. Then they will be arrogant. Then also, that means we cannot discuss the Dhamma with them. This is called Lukha Pugala. So sometimes there are some meditators, they don't wish to listen the instructions given by the Buddha, or they don't wish to listen any instruction from the teacher. They just wish to do whatever thing they like or as they practice, or as they wish. They just wish to practice as they like. So if this kind of people, we cannot get any rapture, any pity, we cannot develop any pity sambhojjhanga by associating with that kind of people. Then 9. Sinita Bugala Sevanata, association with good people. So in this case, we can understand that they have more positive thinking. They may respect anybody for their virtues, their concentration, their wisdom. They can be very polite, very humble. We can also discuss that Dhamma with them. This kind of people is called Sinita Bugala. Then not only that, we have the next one, Pasadaniya Sutanda Pachavakhanada, reflection on the discourses, inspiring the confidence. So here in this case, we have to remember which discourse make us happy. What kind of discourse make us confident? So here in this case, it depends on the personality. Sometimes we also read some part of the Pali canons or commentary. For example, like in my case, sometimes if I'm really very lazy or no more energetic or sometimes no more joy to gain faith, I read Samajanya, about the Samajanya Katha, right? About Samajanya in commentary. Especially, I started knowing that chapter in Silakhanawaka. When I was in the Pali school, whenever I'm lazy or I'm not energetic, I just go and read that chapter. Or if I cannot feel happy or cannot enjoy my learning, I just go and read that chapter. I can regain my faith. I can regain my confidence. Similarly here, when we have lack of confidence or no more confidence, we should read some books to gain faith. Then we can also gain rapture or joy. Then the next one is the Dimodata. This one is the inclination towards joy, as we have mentioned before. If we talk about inclination, that means every time our mind must incline to it. In any posture, our mind must incline to it. Okay, now this is the enlightenment factor of joy. Then the next one about the enlightenment factor of tranquility. So they mention 7 things leads to the arising of the enlightenment factor of tranquility. So here I should explain the first thing about tranquility. What does it mean, tranquility? This is also a kind of mental quality. It makes mind stability. Because we can say it's the stability of the mind. The opposite of restlessness. So when our mind becomes very peaceful, then the body also becomes calm. When our mind is shaken by restlessness or any other defilements, then the mind cannot be calm. So one more thing about that one. For example, if we are worried about many things, we cannot tranquilize our mind and body. So sometimes we are very tired. We stay active because of tranquility of the mind. So that means when the tranquility arises, the defilements are subsided. So that means defilements make our mind unstable. But when we have tranquility, we can subside the defilements. We can also get the stability of the mind. Okay, now when we talk about the 7 things, the first thing is Panita Bhojana Sevanata, the resorting to fine foods. That means when we have good foods, good nutriment, we can also get tranquility. Then again, 2, Udu Sukha Sevanata, the resorting to comfortable weather. When we have good weather, we can also get tranquility. Then 3, Indriya Iyapata Sukha Sevana, the resorting to comfortable postures. So there are 3 things. So these 3 factors, right? Then we will have some exception, right? For example, if meditator has very strong body resistance, or we can say antibody, right? Then we can endure any kind of, whatever food we eat, it doesn't matter. We can digest well. We can be energetic. So for about weather also, if we have very strong body, we can endure any better weather. For about both also the same. If we are very strong, we can bear or endure any kind of posture. We can sit very long time. We can stand very long time. We can also walk very long time. It doesn't matter. So for these 3, there will be some exceptions. We can make our mind calm and peaceful. It depends on situations, right? Then 4. And then the number 4 is Majjada Bayoga, undertaking the middle way. So which means the recollections of karma ownership of oneself and other. So which means as Buddhists, we have to know the good karma will bring good result, bad karma will bring the result. Then he also mentioned not holding any wrong view, such as causeless of happiness, rejecting result of karma. So if we have this kind of wrong view, we are not in the middle way. So middle way means we must have right view, believing in karma ownership. Also, one more thing here. If we have too much attachment to living beings or non-living things, we are not in the middle way. This is also one thing. Sorry. Not only that, not accepting any creator of the world or creator of living beings, then we are our own creator. So we create our own karma. Our karma will create us. Our karma will create our future. If we have this kind of perceptions or this kind of acceptance, this means we have Majjada Yoga, undertaking the middle way. Then 5. 5 means Sarada Kaya Pugala Parivachanada. So in this case, the avoiding of people who have physical bad actions, such as torturing, bringing weapons, stones, or sticks for fighting. So this kind of called Sarada Pugala. So that means we must not associate with anybody who does not have any empathy, mercy, or kindness or compassion. So not only that, we must not associate with anybody who always worry about their security. There are some people, they worry about their security. If we associate with that kind of people, we cannot make our mind calm and peaceful. Also, we must not associate with the people who have bad behavior, short temper, and bad speech. So if we have that kind of friends or companion or associates, we cannot calm down our minds and we cannot have tranquility anymore. It's also important to have good associations. Sometimes they don't need our help. Then, although we have them, they just reject, or maybe they have bad behavior, they just show dislikes. Then we should not associate with that kind of people. Then 6. Pasara Gaya Bukala Sevana, the association with people who have bodily good action. This is already very simple, right? That means we must associate with people who have empathy, mercy, kindness, compassion, and so forth. Also, they don't worry about their future, their security, they may have good behavior, good speech. If we associate with that kind of people, we can also calm down our minds. We can also feel happiness. We can also get tranquility. Okay, now finally, as usual, it also mentioned the Dhamma, inclination towards the development of enlightenment factor of tranquility. So sometimes we don't have any tranquility. We have never experienced any tranquility. Maybe some meditator may have experienced the tranquility, especially when they can focus on the breath very well. Then their minds and the object become very harmonious. They can also experience tranquility. So if we don't have that kind of experiences, but when hearing somebody experiencing tranquility, we can also feel happiness, we can also get tranquility, we can also tranquilize our minds, we can calm down our minds. So in brief, our mind must incline to tranquility. Now we must be interested in tranquility. We must be urgent to develop tranquility. Then if we have like this, that means we are developing the enlightenment factor of tranquility. Then again, we have the next enlightenment factor. The enlightenment factor of concentrations. 11 things lead to the arising of concentration. In reality, we have already explained most of them in the skill in absorption. I think many people have known that one before. Anyway, now we have to introduce something about that enlightenment factor of concentrations. So as we have already known that concentration is come from samatha practice. So as we have mentioned in 10 skill in absorption, we have mentioned 1, Visuddhimagga, Visuddhimagga, purifications of the basis, which means we have to clean our clothes, our living place, and our body, like a shaven hair and so forth. Internally, externally, both we have to clean. This is called Visuddhimagga. Indriya Samatha Patipadana, also already mentioned before, balancing the 5 controlling faculties. Also about 3, Nimitta Kusala, ski in taking up the sign of concentration. There in this part, I also have already explained that we have to know how to make the nimitta. In the case of Kasina, we have to know how to make Kasina nimitta. How to focus on the Kasina object. Another one is Rakkhana. How to maintain. Then again, Bhavana. How to develop. Actually, we have already mentioned all these things in the 10 skills. Now, this is also repetition when we talk about development of the enlightenment factor of concentration. Then 4, Samayajitasa Bhaganata. This is also shortcuts. Actually, when we talk about 10 skill and absorption states, just means samaye, right? It starts with just means samaye, but here it makes it short. Samayajitasa Bhaganata. Uplifting the inciting of the mind on occasion. So that means when we talk about this, I also have to explain how do the development of enlightenment factors, right? Because now we are talking about the development of enlightenment factors. We have already explained at the time briefly. Sometimes when we are inactive or when we have very weak efforts, at the time we have to develop the element factor of investigation, the efforts, and join or rupture. So when we are going to make a fire, we don't add any fuel into the fire. We just add many wet grass or maybe wet clothes like a mat into the fire. The fire will disappear. It will be extinguished. But when we put into fire many fuel like a drying leaves, drying grass, or drying woods, the flame will come out. Similarly, when we are inactive or when we have very weak efforts or not very interested in meditation, it's the time to develop the enlightenment factor of investigation, efforts, and joy. Then 5, Samayajitasa Nikananata, the restraining of the mind on occasion. Sometimes we have too much energy, too much energetic, too much active. It's not the time to develop the enlightenment factor of investigation, effort, and joy. It's the time to develop the enlightenment factor of tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. So we have to remember these 2 things. 4 and 5 cover the developing enlightenment factors. It depends on the occasions, the condition we have. So here in brief, when our mind is too much energetic or too much active, it's the time to develop the enlightenment factor of tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. That means the restraining of mind on occasion. This is number 5. 6. Samaye, Samhasanata, the gladdening of the mind on occasion. So what does it mean, the gladdening of the mind on occasion? Sometimes we don't have any joy or calmness, or we may have very weak wisdom, then our mind will feel tasteless in meditation. At the time, we have to reflect the basis of the ground of sense of urgency. This is called Sambahasanata. So, as we have already explained before, from time to time, our minds are not ready. Sometimes, not that much confidence, not that much energetic. So here, Sambahasanata means when we have very strong sense of urgency or very strong faith, we can gladden our mind. So we have basis of sense of urgency. We have already explained the one in the Viriya, right? Which means when we talk about sense of urgency, it also mentioned like we have to reflect. If we talk about the ground of sense of urgency, that means we have to reflect on rebirth, sickness, aging, death, suffering in this very life by earning or for surviving, suffering in the future in the fourth states, suffering in the past, suffering in the samsara. When we can reflect or recall it, all these things, we may have sense of urgency. Then 7. Samaya Ajupakanata. In reality, I have already explained last week about Tinsky and absorption. The regarding of the mind without interfering on occasion. There I also have already mentioned the simile of charioteer. So a chariot was drawn by 2 horses. Or maybe 3 or more horses also possible, right? When the 2 horses are running properly or in balance, the charioteer just wait and watch them. No need to control that animal. But when one of them is something abnormal, they are not running properly, it's the time to control, right? Try to train them. So now here in the sense of Ajupakana, without interfering, which means when our mind and object become very harmonious, don't struggle anymore, just maintain the one. This is called Ajupakanada. So again, 8. Asmahita Bugala Vivachanata, the avoiding of people who do not have constricted minds. This is also very common in developing enlightenment factor. So we have to avoid unconstricted people, those who never interested in meditation or those who has never practiced samatha before. The 9. Samahita Bugala Sevanata, association with people who have constricted minds. So by associating with that kind of people, we can emulate and to inspire the way they practice. So we should associate with that kind of people. Then 10. Jhana Vimokha Pachakanata, reflection on the absorption and the emancipation. So the Buddha explains the 8 attainment. We can also say the 8 jhanas. Then this 8 jhana is also called Vimokha. In Bali, we call Vimokha, but in English, mostly we translate as emancipation or freedom or liberation. The Buddha used this Vimokha in many discourses. Mostly when we talk about Vimokha, we understand as Nibbana, right? But from time to time, the Buddha also explain Vimokha as Jhana. Jhana as a Vimokha. Then again, 11, Tathātimutata, inclination towards the development of the enlightenment factor of concentration. So we may have a supreme desire or willingness to attain jhana anytime, anywhere. This is called Tathātimutata. So briefly, when we talk about concentration, it also covers jhanas. It also covers the asset concentration. That is why when we talk about the development of enlightenment factor of concentration, this means we have to meditate. Okay, now we have the last enlightenment factors. The enlightenment factor of equanimity. Then we have to explain something about upekkha, equanimity here. So equanimity, upekkha means free from love and hate. This is also called upekkha. Especially when we talk about sublime abiding, Brahma Vihara, Metta, Karuna, Metta means loving kindness, Karuna, compassions, Mudita, sympathetic joy, after the upekkha, equanimity, right? When we talk about equanimity, that means in sublime abiding, our minds are free from love and hate. Sometimes we also have upekkha feeling, which means our minds are free from happiness or unhappiness, both. We can also say like that. We can also say when our minds are free from pleasant and unpleasant, this is also called equanimity. When our minds are free from happiness and sorrow, this is also called equanimity. So in our daily life, most of the time we have equanimity toward living beings and objects. So we just have normal objects most of the time, but sometimes we have desirable objects. At the time, we may have happiness. Sometimes we have undesirable objects. At the time, we may have unhappiness. So there are many different types of equanimities, but now here, the equanimity here, the enlightenment factor of equanimities, right? This means we have to make our minds equanimous, free from love and hate. Attachment also one of the disturbance for it. Okay, now they are mentioned 5 things lead to the arising of enlightenment factor of equanimity. What are the 5? They mentioned Saddha Majjadada. Saddha means living beings. The equanimity towards living beings is also important. Mostly it's not that easy to have equanimity toward living beings, because we have somebody who we love, we have somebody who we hate. So in our daily life, we may have many different people. When we see indifferent people, sure, we may have equanimity toward them. It doesn't matter. But when seeing suffering beings, so we also feel sorry. When seeing very happy living beings, we also become happy. This is a common in our daily life. So to have equanimity towards living beings, we must have karma ownership knowledge. At the least, he has his own karma. I have my own karma. If we have good things, we can experience good. If we have good karma, we can experience good things. Now we also have many other ways to have equanimity towards living beings. For example, understanding the ultimate truth, understanding namarupas as no man, no woman, no living beings, and so on. When we have this kind of understanding, this kind of knowledge, then we may have equanimity towards living beings. As long as we have the perceptions of living beings, we cannot have equanimity. So that means if we wish to have stronger equanimity, we must have discerned thoroughly the ultimate realities and aggregate the basis or elements. If we have thoroughly discerned the ultimate realities as aggregates, basis, and elements, we may have equanimity towards living beings. Otherwise, it's not that easy. So, what about arhats? Mostly arhats have equanimity towards living beings or non-living things. because they have very strong insight knowledges. When they see designable objects, they can also change it into undesirable objects. Not only that, when they see desirable objects or undesirable objects, they can also change to desirable objects. For example, living things and non-living things. So when seeing living things, desirable living beings, they can practice Asubha Bhavana, then it becomes undesirable. Right? No more desirable object for them. When seeing non-living things, they will design 4 elements on it. Just understand as 4 elements, then no more attachment to it. That's why mostly Arhat has very strong equanimity toward living things or non-living things. But for us, like ordinary people, like us, we have to develop the enlightenment factor of equanimities by practicing insight knowledges or by having karma ownership knowledge. We have very little options. Again, 2. We have Satta Sankhara, Sankhara Majatata, equanimity towards things. So here one more thing, equanimity towards things. That means non-living things. So this is also very common. We have many things in our living place, right? Maybe picture, painting, arts, or maybe electrical things, books, many non-living things we like. So here, Sankhara Majjata means when we recollect the impermanent nature of things, one day they will naturally spoil. They can be spoiled by natural. When we can recall it like that, we may have less attachment to them, more equanimity toward them. Now we can also have another perception. That means we can understand or we can accept it as a borrowed things, like a temporary use. So as we have already known that we ourselves are visitors in human realms, one day we must go back our home. We don't know where's our home, right? It can be Deva realms, it also can be Brahma realms, it also can be fourfold states. So we ourselves are visitors in human realms. So similarly, all the living things or non-living things just visit us for a short time. Then later, all of them will leave us. All our belongings today can be rubbish tomorrow. Right? We just own them for a few minutes, a few moments. If we understand like that, we may have less attachment to non-living things. We may have more equanimity towards non-living things because Sankhara Majjata. Then, number 3, Satta Sankhara Kelayana Bugala Parivajanata. Here I mentioned 2 different things. Satta, living beings. Sankhara means non-living beings. That's when the avoiding of persons who have too much attachment to living beings and non-living things. This is really living things or non-living things, right? The things. So that means we may have our beloved one in the text. That means in the Visuddhimagga commentary, and we have also have similar thing can be found in Mahasatipatthana commentary. We can find the same things. They are mentioned one thing about the Kelayana, right? Attachment. So there are some era bhikkhus or some senior, they may have their disciples. they love their disciple too much. When somebody asks their disciple to do this and that, they dislike them. Don't ask my disciple to do this and that. They will be tired. They don't wish their disciple to be tired. So when we have this kind of mind or this kind of attachment, this is called Kilayana. This example about bhikkhu, right? Similarly, as in household life, sure, if you have children, you don't like your children to be tired, right? This is a normal. No parents like their children to be tired. This is also called Kilayana. Let them work very hard, as much as they can. They will understand their life, right? They can understand their lifestyle better. This is called Satta Kilayana, attachment to living things or living beings. For about non-living things or non-living beings, for about things, okay. So in this case, we have our favorite things. For example, our favorite picture, our favorite foods, our favorites, okay, like for example, laptop, like a telephone, or any electrical things, or it can be any material, including flower, candle, or like a short sticks, or anything we like, we our favorite things, right? If somebody touch it, we dislike, or we are not very happy. If we have this kind of strong attachment, we call this called the Sankhara Kilayana, attachment to things. If we associate with this kind of people, we cannot have equanimity. That is why, if we wish to have stronger equanimity, we must avoid the people who has very strong attachment to living things and things. So now, 4. Satta Sankara Majjata Bogala Sevanata. So here in this part, as we have mentioned before, Saddami, living beings, Sankarami, things. So associating with people who are natural or impartial in regard to living beings and things. It will be obviously to previous one, right? Number 3 and 4 are opposites. So there are some people, they have more natural minds toward living beings. As I have mentioned before, they have more karma ownership knowledge, more equanimities. Like arhats, they may not have any attachment to any living things or non-living things. They have stronger equanimity towards everything. So if we have this kind of good friends who has very normal or equanimity toward living things or non-living things, this the person we should associate or we should live with. Then again, 5, Gata Dimutata, the inclination towards the inclination for developing enlightenment factor of equanimities all the times. So these are the enlightenment factors we have to develop every day or everything according to the situation. So here we have to know one more thing about the enlightenment factors. In Pali, we call bojjhanga, body and anga, 2 different things. So what does it mean, bojjhanga? So body also means the noble truth, the enlightenment. So they are the causes when knowing the Four Noble Truths. That's why they are called bojjhanga, the factor of enlightenment. Then again, If we say body, this also comes from one of the Pali words, waking up. So that means we are waking up from the sleepiness of defilements. In our daily life, when we have defilements, we are sleeping. So when we have already developed the Enlightenment fetters, we can wake up from it. So that means when waking up from the sleepiness of defilements, then they are the causes. That's what they are called body. Then the body also means the quality of knowing the Four Noble Truths. Right? This is also one of the quality. That means with the quality. So if we are practicing the Four Noble Truths, we have a quality. When we are developing the Enlightenment fetters, we have a quality. So that means we have the quality of knowing the Four Noble Truths when we practice the Bojjhanga. So that is why they are called the Bojjhanga, the Enlightenment fetter. So again, the Buddha recommended his disciples to develop the Enlightenment fetters in many discourses. You know, in Samudana Nikaya, we have Bojjhanga Samyutta. We can find many discourses about the Enlightenment fetters. In one place, the Buddha also explains that the monks undertaking the precepts developed the Enlightenment fetter of mindfulness, and that is the produced by solitude, Vivekanisita, or produced by detachment, Viraganisita, produced by cessation, Niranisita, and that inclined to the abandonment, Osaka Prinami. We can find this kind of statements or passage in many, many parts in Samudana Nikaya, which means we can develop the Enlightenment fetters by undertaking the precepts. The Enlightenment fetter is produced by solitude, produced by detachment, produced by cessation that incline to the abandonment. That is called Bojjhanga. So, okay, today we have already finished the Enlightenment fetter. So next week we have to continue talking about jhanas. It will be a little bit heavy topic for today. Also, it will be a little bit heavy topic. Next week also it will be heavy topic. But anyway, we should know what's really called jhana, how to practice, how we should experience. Okay. So now, today we have already explained the 10 keys. Among the 10 keys, we also have to know many other things. But anyway, so as a meditator, we have to learn any things which are necessary for our practice. So today it will be heavy for the listeners and also understand. But if I explain many other things, or if I divide into many groups, for example, like 2 Enlightenment fetters in 1 week, it will be very long, right? That's why I just summarize all the Enlightenment fetters at once in one topic. So anyway, you can also understand well, you can also practice practically, it will be useful for you in your daily practice. So may you all be able to practice the 3 trainings, and as a result, may you all be able to realize the final cessation and not suffering. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Dear Shadow, question 1. Regarding practice of mindfulness in other posture, other than sitting, usually should we focus on the same meditation object as during sitting time, for example, breathing object, or other object other than main object? Is it okay?
So for about Sambhajanya, actually we should focus on the main object all the time. as we sit, as we focus on the breath when sitting, we also should focus on the breath when walking, standing, also maybe like walking or lying down, right? Any posture, we have to focus on the same object. It will be more beneficial. Okay, next one.
Okay, number 2, when we are doing something that require full attention on the action, for example, cutting fruits, can we focus only on the action itself instead of focusing on the meditation object, for example, breathing at the same time?
So if something is dangerous, right, you should be mindful on what you have to do, right? It doesn't mean you have to focus on the action. If necessary, you can do some chanting or like a recollection of the Buddha or something like that. It will be more beneficial. Actually, we don't recommend to focus on the action. Okay, next one.
Number 3, out of the 40 meditation objects, if one were to prefer a particular object, for example, peace of Nibbana, more than others, is it okay to practice mindfulness on such an object during daily life? What is and when one is not practicing the main meditation object during sitting time?
Okay, so like a recollection of peace or recollection of Nibbana is not that simple and easy for beginners. If you have known the quality of Nibbana, it's okay, not that much problematic. But for about the main object, we should choose easier one, right? Another thing is like the changing objects, right? Now in the question also mentioned changing objects. As we have mentioned before, sometimes you are too lazy, not very interested in meditation. You wish to have joy or tranquility. Then at the time you could also change the object. For example, Patisambhidamagga, right? Mentioned. You can change to Buddhanussati or Dhammanussati, Sanghanussati, any recollections to make your mind happy and peaceful. After that, come back to the main object. So from time to time, you can change the objects until you can recover your energy. Then if you can recover your energy, then you can refocus on the previous object. Okay?
Dear Sayadaw, for one who has mastered till 4th jhana, is it okay to enter, for example, 4th jhana immediately without going through 1st to 3rd jhana?
Okay, so for systematically, we have to enter, right? The up to one by one, first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, like that. We don't have shortcuts. But for those who has already practiced 14 ways, they can skip any jhana. It will be exceptions. Okay, next one.
Number 2, in the Visuddhimagga, it is stated that bone marrow is white, spleen is blue. Could it be translation error or any reason for stating such color for these parts?
Maybe the bone marrow we understand and bone marrow the commentator understand will be different. Maybe that's why they translate like that. Maybe, right? Spleen is blue. This one is not blue. Maybe this is a translation mistake. Maybe.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Well, mostly, you know. Okay. Recently, I also have not recently. Long time ago, when I start giving interview for foreigner, they say like blue Kasina, you know, Nila Kasina. We don't have Nila Kasina. We don't have blue Kasina. But when this is the first time I have ever heard blue Kasina, then this translation problem. They translate Nila as a blue, but in reality, Nila is a black. Okay. Next one.
Okay. Number 3, for Deva, since there are 32 parts, why it is that they could still practice anapanasati?
Actually, they have breathing, right? For Deva, they have breathing. That means they cannot practice 32 body parts. This is a different things. But they also have to breathe in, breathe out for their living, right? For oxygen. That is why they can practice anapanasati.
Question 3, Wandami Sayadaw, I have a lot of love. Is that wrong? Can this love kill me? Anumodami Sayadaw.
Okay, so in this case, it depends on what kind of love, right? So sometimes, okay, we can like it, loving kindness. In this case, it will be okay. You can love anybody with kindness. Also, one more thing, equally. If we love all the living beings equally, this is called loving kindness. So this kind of love is okay. We're gonna say this killing us or killing anybody. So the problem is if we have too much attachment to somebody, then it will be a little bit dangerous or risky or very harmful for ourselves. So it depends, okay? It depends on what kind of love you have.
问答米下多 If someone have no faith to the Buddha Dhamma, what to do? What is the best thing to do?
So like a non-Buddhist, we cannot do anything, right? So for Buddhists, if we don't have any faith in Buddha's Dhamma Sangha, we should do more recollection of the Buddha's quality, Dhamma's quality, Sangha's quality, then we can gain faith in it. If we know the value, we have faith, right? Okay, next one.
Question 5. Dear Sayadaw mentioned about avoiding of people who does not have concentrated mind and association with people who have concentrated mind. In the monastery, we encounter some meditator who discriminate meditator based on whether they have jhana and vipassana and those who have no attainment. They criticize this meditator as low class, only do cooking and dana bhikkhu. With regard to this point, how to have a right understanding and maintain a good balance so that we will not cause hurt feeling to meditators who are not progressing well yet.
Okay, sure. This is also one of the problems come from personal experience, right? Anyway, so actually, if we have met this kind of people, we should avoid also. Although they have achieved something, we cannot say somebody is a low grade or inferior or lower class, right? We cannot say like that. So all of us have possibility to achieve. It depends on our skill. So, okay, although they have concentrated minds, in this case, it will be the next one, right? Kelayana. That means they sub-indulge too much, right? So they just follow their own desire too much. In this case, sure, you should not associate with that kind of concentrated person also. Okay, one more thing here about understanding, right? Sometimes Dhamma and person do different things. Dhamma is always truth. The personality will change all the time. So although we are accepting the same Dhamma, it depends on our point of view or how we accept it. It will be different, right? Different idea, different understandings. After that, different problem also. Okay, in this case, just understand this is his personality or her personality is not Dhamma. Okay.
问答米下多 In the 40 Kammatthana, usually, if most of the time, 一个问题 in most of the time, Panyati as object, by taking Panyati as object, then one can attain jhana. Is it correct? So if this is correct, why is that so? By taking Panyati only can attain jhana. By taking Paramatta as object, it can only attain Upachara Samadhi. Then Buddhanusati. Then how to understand Buddhanusati? If this is correct, why taking Paramatta as object only? Why by taking Paramatta as object only Upachara Samadhi can be attained?
Okay. So in this case, we have to understand two different things, right? For example, Paramatta Dhamma is deep and profound, very difficult to understand. For example, as you mentioned here, Buddhanusati. I have already mentioned before, Arahant, the one who is free from defilements. So according to the statements, it's very simple, right? The one who is free from defilements. Then again, if we analyze again, what are the defilements? Lobha, dosa, moha, mana, and so forth, right? We have many defilements. So, okay, according to Metaphysics, there are 10 defilements. So which defilements? For example, lobha, the one who's free from lobha. Now, lobha also can classify many different things. That's why it's very deep and very profound. We cannot understand thoroughly, easily. That is why when we take ultimate reality as object, we cannot attain jhana. When we can take concept as object, it's not that much deep and profound, we can attain jhana. Okay?
I think this Seado has answered before. He says in the Vinyanananjayatana and Neva Sanyana Sanyayatana, they are taking Paramatta as object. Why they can attain jhana? Is it because Paramatta is referring to Vipassana, object for Vipassana? So the wisdom is strong, but the samatha is weak. And Paramatta, Dhamma, for example, the Chitta Cetasika, they arise and perish immediately. So the object is always arising and perishing, cannot let one enter into jhana. It can only maintain as upachara samadhi. Is that correct? So this is the first part of the question.
Actually, I have already answered this question also, right? Anyway, so this is actually Vinyananja and Viganya Neva Sanyana Sanya, right? This one is, these two have ultimate reality as an object, but it's not for beginner. Actually, in the very beginning, we have already analyzed, right? Categorized different types of jhana. We got Adi Kamika, right? This is not for beginner. So for experienced meditator or advanced meditator, that's why it's possible for them to attain that kind of jhana. So one more thing about this kind of jhana, at the time we don't think about arising and perishing. We just think about consciousness. So it depends on our perceptions, right? When we talk about, even when we see the Rupa Kalapas, in the very beginning we don't ask them to discern arising and perishing. Otherwise, they cannot maintain very well. Similarly now, in the sense of jhana, we don't ask them to discern arising and perishing. That focus on the in the case of Vinyananja, mentioning boundless consciousness, right? Just focus on the consciousness that take boundless space as an object. So it should be simple, right? Don't think about anicca, dukkha, anatta, or arising and perishing. Just think about consciousness. Okay, next one. Next part.
Next part. Usually when the meditator takes panyati as object, then they can attain jhana, because the panyati is not the object for vipassana. That's why vipassana, the wisdom is weak, vitakka and vichara, and the other jhana factors are strong. So that's why wisdom weak, samatha strong. That's why it can enter into jhana. Or is it because of the object is unchangeable? For example, anapanasati, the object is the breath. The breath can be gross or subtle, but at the end it will become subtle or stops. So this, in this condition, the wisdom is weak, but the samatha is strong. That's why by taking panyati as object, the meditator can attain jhana. So if he understands in this way, is it correct?
That's very risky, right? This understanding is very risky. Be careful. For example, we have already mentioned about balancing, controlling faculties. If one of them is weak, all other things cannot work properly. I have already mentioned. When we attain jhana, we can balance. We must be able to balance all the controlling faculties. If we cannot balance, we may fall into the bonga states. Then it can be like similar to asset concentration. Anyway, the main thing is not because of weakness of wisdom or anything. It's just, right? Because of the nature of practice. Right? If we think about weakness of wisdom and samadhi, right? If we don't like this, that means we cannot balance controlling faculties. If we contradict between two statements. If we cannot balance controlling faculties, we cannot attain jhana. We cannot maintain jhana. That's why that kind of perception is a little bit risky, right? Don't think like that. Samatha is a samatha, vipassana is a vipassana, right? So that means taking concept as an object. This is the nature, that's how we can take it, right? So sometimes when somebody asks this kind of question, I also ask, why you are born as a human being? Then they may say, it's naturally. Sure, there's a cause and effect, sure. So in this case, when we think about jhana, it depends on how we can practice. It depends on our skill. Already mentioned we have already mentioned the skill, right? Jhana has come from the skill. Skill also come from wisdom. That's why we cannot say weak wisdom or anything. Okay?
In the practice of anapanasati, must he focus on to the breath on the touching point only, or if he focus on to the air at the breath or in the nostril?
Okay, so in this case, we have three things to know. So it mentioned in the Visuddhimagga, later we have to explain Anapanasati chapter. That means in breath, the out breath, and the touching points. As long as the meditator can know one of the three, is it correct? Okay, next one.
Dear Sayadaw, in Kasina meditation, when the sign appears in the mind and becomes bright quickly, how do we attain jhana quickly and skillfully? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So here in this case, we have already explained Kripa, that is Sukha Paripada Kripa Pinya, that part, right? So it depends on the situation we have. Actually, when we talk about four types of jhana, right? Dukkha Paripada, Danda Vinya, Dukkha Paripada, Kripa Pinya, and so forth. We have four types of jhana. So in this case, it depends on our skill. And not only that, it depends on supporting causes. For example, seven suitable conditions. Also, we have some disturbance like impediment, 10 impediments. So if we have 10 impediments, or if we don't have suitable conditions, sure, we cannot improve easily. Not only that, if we cannot balance controlling faculties, if we have too much attachment to living things or non-living things, right? If we don't practice samatha respectfully, we cannot improve easily and quickly. So it depends on many other supporting causes. Okay, you can review previous lessons about Kripa Paripada, Sukha Paripada Kripa Pinya, that chapter, right? Okay, next one.
In the teaching of these 10 skills in entering into jhana, there is one skill called nimitta kusalata. So by taking anapanasati as object, as an example, can Sayadaw explain a little bit more detail about this nimitta kusalata referring to anapanasati?
Okay, so when we talk about nimitta kusalata, in the about the 10 skill, right? So Parma here, karna kusalata skill in making. So in this case, we must keep the breathing naturally. This is what karana, right? If we don't make it natural, that means we cannot make it anapana objects properly. If we cannot make it natural, if we cannot make it, then sure we cannot maintain very well. That's the first thing we have to know. Karana kosana, skill in making, which means keep the object natural. Now later we have to, actually in the case of anapanasati, we have to explain many different things from Patisambhidamagga. There it will mention like impurity of anapanasati, right? If we can avoid impurity of anapanasati, this is also called karana kosana, making skill. Now that's the bhavana kosana, skill in developing. So after that, we have to know how to develop anapanasati. So in this case, in the case of anapanasati, we must know how to maintain. Also, right? Rakana kosana. So that means we have to develop little by little. For example, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, like that. We must be skillful in developing. What about Rakana? Also the same, skill in maintaining. Although we try to develop a lot. If we cannot maintain, then all our effort will be useless. We must be skillful in maintenance. That means when we have good concentration, we must know how to maintain. I have already mentioned many times, as long as we have a natural breathing and natural focusing, just maintain it. Don't make any extra efforts. If you make extra efforts, because of excessive efforts, you may have a lot of thoughts. That means maintaining is also important in Anapanasati. Okay, so if we summarize, Karna Kosala means make your breathing natural. Then Bhavana Kosala, skill and development, that means you have to build up the time of concentration letter by letter. After that, Rakana Kosala, skill and maintaining. You must be able to maintain the concentration you have already achieved. This is the way you have to understand. Okay? Next one.
When offering the four requisites about the Pindabada, can he offer to the Sangha food if these requisites is transferred to the monastery? The Kapya, how would the Kapya arrange these food requisites for the Sangha?
Food requisites for Sangha means you will transfer food requisites to the Kapya. The Kapya have to arrange this one, right?
Yeah, food, about food, Pindabada.
I know. Food requisites, okay.
So how to offer to Sangha, and if these requisites value transfer to the monastery, so how would the Kapya arrange food to offer to the Sangha?
Actually, Kapya, okay, in this case, we cannot say only one Kapya, right? So if you say this Dana is for only foods, then Kapya will inform, right, the office. Then you may fix the date, right? In that very day, then they have to send to one Kapya to arrange unnecessary things. After they cook for the Sangha. That's all. What do you want to know about it?
By referring to Anapanasati practice, what are the contents related to Dhamma Vichaya? And Dhamma Vichaya, this Dhamma, by referring to Anapanasati, what are the contents of?
Okay, so when we talk about Dhamma Vichaya, it also mentioned, right, Paribhuchanada. You have to ask unclear points. So this means in the case of Anapanasati, you have to know which one is the unclear point. You have to ask all these things. Right? Then another one is like okay, Indriya. Indriya Samadha. Okay, no, not really big problem. Right? For only Paribhuchanada, inquiring about the aggregates, basic elements, faculty power, something like that. I have already mentioned before. In this case, you have to ask something about only Anapanasati. Don't ask many other things, right? What about other, like Giriya? This one is very simple. Purification of bases, Indriya Samadha, Pariparada. That's me, like a balance controlling faculties. So in this case, Dhamma Vichaya means you have to ask many unclear points in Anapanasati. This is good enough. Okay, next one.
Seattle, just now about the question. About the question just now, I think the questioner would like to know Dhamma Vichaya. This Dhamma, when referring to Anapanasati, what does that mean? Does that mean analyzing the Dhamma of Anapanasati or what?
Okay, so in this case, okay, Dhamma means Anapanasati. We're going to say analyzing. Don't analyze. You have to know only unclear point of Anapanasati. About Anapana meditation, which one is unclear for you? You have to try to understand that part. That is called Dhamma Vichaya. Okay?
Just now, it says that Vipassana Jnana and Kamma Sakata Jnana can can let Upekkha Bojjhanga to arise. So in Upekkha Bojjhanga, there are Upekkha, and Sankarupekkha Jnana also have Upekkha. So what are the difference between these two?
Actually, in the case of Sankarupekkha Jnana, in this part, actually, equanimity towards formation, right? This means more equanimity towards the aggregates or bases or many different things. This is called the insight knowledge. For about Bojjhanga, in this case, okay, for about Kamasakata Jnana, okay, Kamasakata Jnana means, okay, we can find this kind of things in the divinity origination, cause apprehended knowledge, right? We can also find cause apprehended knowledge in this kind of case. So if we talk about insight knowledges, these two are a little bit different. Sankarupekkha Jnana is a very high level. Kamasakata Jnana is only cause apprehended knowledge. We call the Pajjabrika Jnana or divinity origination, design divinity origination. Only in that part, okay, two different levels. Okay, next one.
Vandanisiado. Upekkha Sambojjhanga. One of the factors is Upekkha toward the Sankhara, but the Sankhara the Sankhara, does that means the five Khanda, Paticca Samuppada Anga, Ayatana and Dhatu, or this Upekkha means all the non-living beings, means all the Utuja or all the material things. So what does it mean by this Sankhara here?
Okay, in this case, when you are developing the enlightenment factors, you have to consider according to your situation now. It mentions Sankhara means non-living things. I have already mentioned, right? Non-living things. When we talk about non-living things, don't think about anicca, dukkha, anatta, or don't think about uddhacca, rupas, or anything, right? In this case, you have to understand simply. If we say non-living things, understand that non-living things. It's not practicing vipassana. This is developing bojjhanga. Okay, one more thing. So when you are practicing vipassana, you have to develop the bojjhanga at the time. Sure, it can be uddhacca, rupas. When you are practicing samatha, you have to develop bojjhanga. At the time, it should be non-living things. Don't think about uddhacca, rupas, or any other things. Okay? Understand as a simply, as mentioned in the text. Okay? Next one.
Vandamisiado, in the seven Bojjhanga, Bojjhanga can be the cause for the accomplishment of the seven enlightenment can be the cause for the accomplishment of the Four Noble Truths. Are there any other cause for the accomplishments of Four Noble Truths besides Satta Bojjhanga?
Actually, you have already known that the Noble Eightfold Paths, right? This is also the same, to attain Bojjhanga, so to attain enlightenment, the three trainings, we can also say like that, right? Seven purifications. Actually, although we give different name, all the ways are leading to the realizations of Nibbana. So we can also understand many other ways, right? Okay. Then, other question?
Dear Shadow, Wandani Bante, if Venerable Ananda was not affected by the Mara and requested the Lord Buddha to stay longer, how long could Buddha have lived if he decided? Bante, Sadhu Bante, Sadhu.
Okay, at that time it mentioned like Ayukapa. Mostly people also misunderstand Buddha can live as long as Vasastan exists, right? In reality, it's not like that. We call Ayukapa. Lifespan all at the time. At the time, what lifespan is only 100 years, right? So the Buddha can live 100 years or longer than 100 years. No more than that. Okay? Maybe as Venerable, which one? The one who very, very long, Venerable Bhakula, I think 160 years or something like that. So anyway, then he can live, but sure, he cannot live 200 years, right? Sure, maybe longer than 100 years he can live. Okay, that's all.
Question again. Dear Sayadaw, some meditation teachers are sensitive to yogi's mind, yet the teacher do not have mind reading ability. Other than mind reading ability, is there any other reason which allow the teachers to have such sensitivity?
Actually, sometimes we can guess their situation, right? Actually, okay, after a long time relationship or after a long time like teaching, we can also understand when they say like that, okay, this is the way they think, the way they understand, we can also understand because, okay, now in modern world, we can know meditation techniques. We can learn all the meditation techniques in one sitting. So I myself, for example, have known many meditation methods before I came to Paodoya. That's why when somebody reports something about their body too much, I can know where they come from. When somebody talk about their mind too much, I can also understand where they come from. So this is the way, okay, come from, okay, in brief, we can say, by learning, we can also know people's mind. We can also guess people's mind, right? There's also sensitivity, sure. Then, any other thing?
Vietnamese said all. When I do sitting meditation, I do anapanasati about 45 minutes, then I feel the pain in my heart. But I should observe the pain and I come back to my breath again. But the pain in my heart increasing non-stop. So other time I think about anicca. But when I discern that the pain and come back to the breath again, but I endure the pain, and also I continue with the pain, and I just observe, I note the pain for 30 minutes. So I see the pain start to reduce, and I come back to my breath again. So is that my practice anapanasati is correct?
Okay, when you are practicing anapanasati, it should be only anapanasati. Don't mess up with any other things, right? Anapanasati must be simple and natural. So there is one statement in anapanasati: don't follow inside your body, don't follow outside your body. This is one of the statements, one of the recommendations. So now, in your case, don't follow inside your body, don't follow outside your body also. Trying to keep knowing around your nostril. Trying to keep knowing the breath around nostril. This is the way we have to understand about anapanasati. Okay? Next one.
Dear Sayadaw, in the Jhana Viti process, for first to third Jhana, Parikama to Gotrabu moment are 34 mental formation, whereas for fourth Jhana, Parikama to Gotrabu moment are 33 mental formation. Could Sayadaw please explain the reason why fourth Jhana only 33 mental formation?
Okay, in this case, okay, one more thing. Before, even in the asset concentrations to fourth jhana, the sukha is already eradicated. That is why there can be only 33 mental formations. That means no more BD, right? That's why only 33 mental formations. So for other things, only in the jhana moments they can remove jhana fetters, but in the sense of fourth jhana, even in the asset concentration, is already ubeka. That's why no more BD, no more sukha, right? The next one.
Dear Sayadaw, if a bhikkhu asks a sayale to wash his used pillow and blanket because he has no time, what should the sayale do? The bhikkhu is not a teacher. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
This one is a little bit problematic, right? So, okay, for other properties, not that much serious. If she wash, also not really big problem. But for about the rope, wearing ropes, right? Then she must not ask to wash anybody. Okay, next one.
Dear Sayadaw, can a bhikkhu request or suggest lay devotee or kapiya to set up fundraising group to collect dana for monastery building fund?
Actually, we cannot. Okay, we cannot ask them to raise money, right? For about organization. Okay, we can make organization. For about other things, okay, they should do by themselves. People should not suggest or ask them to do this kind of things. Make organizations okay, right? Then next one.
Sayadaw, he would like to reconfirm whether she can offer the Sangha food or not. Means the requisites transfer to the monastery, then let the kapiya make arrangement to donate food to the Sangha.
Okay, it depends on what kind of monastery, right? Which monastery. So that means if you wish to offer to the monastery, you have to contact with the monastery kapiya, whether they can arrange or not. I cannot answer this question, right? I'm not the kapiya. Yeah?
Yes, Sayadaw. Wandami Sayadaw, when you mentioned the equanimity towards things, the Pali words for things is sankhara. Before I knew sankhara, kanda, and sabbe sankhara anicati. So sankhara not only means nama, also can mean rupa or things, right? Sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, so it depends on the context. There will be different meaning of sankhara. Okay.
Wandami Sayadaw, if someone's the mind is very sensitive, very sharp, can they communicate with each other by the mind only without the kaya vinyana or maji vinyana, vinyati or kaya vinyati?
This isn't actually. I don't recommend this kind of things, right? If somebody say like that, don't listen to that kind of teacher. Be careful. They are teaching. Okay. Oh, dukkha. Etta vadaja amehi sambadam bunya sambadam sabbe devanumodandu sabbe buddhanumodandu sabbe sattanumodandu sabba sambati siddhiya idam me nyatinam hotu sukhita hondu nyatayo idam me nyatinam hotu sukhita hondu nyatayo idam me nyatinam hotu Sukhita hondu nyadayo idame bunyam asawakaya waham hodu idame bunyam nibbanasa bhajayo hodu mama bunya bhagam sabbasadanam bhajemi te sabbe me samam bunya bhagam labandu sadhu sadhu sadhu.